Attention humanitarian and development professionals. Are you looking to take your career to the next level? Then you've come to the right place. Humanitarian Global offers self-paced online courses designed specifically for you. With our comprehensive curriculum, you'll build your capacity in the most critical areas of humanitarian and development work. Our course offerings include monitoring, evaluation, accountability and learning, water, sanitation and hygiene, disaster risk reduction and management, food security and nutrition in emergencies, procurement and supply chain management, human nutrition and dietetics, maternal, infant and young child nutrition. With Humanitarian Global, you'll have the opportunity to grow your skills and impact the lives of people in need. Visit our website to learn more about our courses and apply today.
Hello, everyone. I believe you can all hear me. Thank you so much for joining this session. I believe this is the session that you've all been waiting for. Thank you so much for confirming, Peter, saying loud and clear. Truly appreciate that. And I want to take this opportunity to officially welcome you all to this auspicious webinar. Our webinar today will be looking at the fundamentals of report writing in humanitarian aid work. And I'm privileged to be joined in with my colleagues as well as the expert for today. So I believe we can just be able to ask that we can have more time for us to be able to ask the questions that we might have. So we'll start with introductions from the team who have been able to make this training a success. And then one of my colleagues will come later on to just give you a brief of what is happening at Humanitarian Global, and then we'll be able to embark on the session. So before I invite my colleagues, maybe I give a shout out to the people who've been able to join the session and just been able to just say hi. So we have Rashid, we have Gairat, we have Million. Thank you so much for joining. We have Maulid as well. I believe you are concerned about hearing. I believe now you can hear me loud and clear. We have Babulo, welcome from Ethiopia. We have Evans. Thank you so much for joining. We have Gairat. We have Peter again. Thank you so much. We have Peter O as well, and another Peter. Thank you all Peters for joining. We also do have Marefia and everyone else who've not been able to put in their name. So thank you so much for just having the time to join this session. I truly appreciate. The person who's speaking is Sheila. I'm part of the team at Humanitarian Global, and I'm excited what we have in store in regards to report writing. Hi, Adamu. Thank you so much for joining us from Nigeria. So with that, I think I will bring on board my fellow colleagues to be able to introduce themselves, and then we can be able to proceed. I think I'll give a chance to Brian.
Thank you, Sheila. As Sheila said, my name is Brian, part of the Humanitarian Global Technical Team that ensures that all these events are a success. So thank you very much for joining us, and we look forward to a resourceful session today.
Great. Thank you so much, Brian, for that introduction. I'm also seeing someone called Mohammed Abdi is saying hi, and Yeshambel is saying hi to everyone. So receive greetings from Yeshambel. And then we'll have Anthony also being given a chance to just say hi. Anthony.
Thank you so much, Sheila, and hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining our session today. My name is Anthony from the technical support team at Humanitarian Global, and we look forward to having a great event. I'm going to be coming back in a short while to share maybe more information with you. But before then, thank you so much, and encourage your colleagues and friends to join. Welcome once again.
Great. Thank you so much, Anthony, for that introduction. Let me also say hi to Richard Clote. Welcome to this session, as well as I can see someone else, Amara Gobra from Sierra Leone. Welcome to this auspicious webinar. Then I'll give a chance also to Adrina for the day to just say hi. Her session is coming up later on, and she'll have more time to tell us a bit about herself. Welcome, Linda.
Thank you, Sheila. Hi, everyone. My name is Linda Obura. I'll be your trainer for the day. hoping that we can learn a lot from each other about report writing. Karibuni.
Great. Thank you so much, Linda, for that introduction. I'm also seeing, I didn't say hi, Hilary. Thank you for joining this training invitation. So with that, I believe just before I bring back Anthony to give us any new updates from Humanitarian Global, we would want to just ensure that as we start the session, or maybe you have a question, a comment, or clarification, please use the chat feature and the Q&A to be able to just understand or just throw in your words or your thoughts, so that now we can also be able to learn from each other. So with that, Anthony, please come back to give us any new updates from Humanitarian Global. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Sheila, and I'm happy to be back. Yeah, so as we look forward to looking into the fundamentals of report writing, I know we are professionals. We work on different kind of projects, different kind of assignments within our organizations. Maybe some of us, we are studying, we are trying to pursue further studies. And when it comes to report writing, this is one of the most essential skills that you need to have as a professional. And above all, being able to come up with presentations, reports, and being able to deliver. It's also quite important. So as we look into the fundamentals of report writing today, I would also want to say that we do have an upcoming event, which we're going to fully focus on report writing and presentation skills. And that is what I would like to share with you just in a few minutes, so that you can have an understanding of what you expect to be covered in the event. So allow me to share my screen just here so that we can all be at par. Okay, great. Yeah, thank you so much. So on the chat section, I've also been able to share with you a link to the same event. So this is a 3-hour training session where we're going to be looking more into report writing as well as presentation skills. And this is to help us get better as professionals, as we work on our reports, as we work on presentations, so that we can be able to effectively communicate and pass information as it's supposed to be. So for this event, it's happening on the 3rd of August, as you can see on my screen. We have like 2 more days to go. And as we go on with the webinar for today, remember that you can continue to register for this event. It's very easy for you on how to go about the same. So you have the register button here, and that one is going to lead you to the steps on which you're supposed to follow when it comes to registration. So it's quite simple. So let's now have a look at maybe the timing of the event. As I did say, that is going to be on Saturday. That is on this coming weekend. So 2 days from today, 3rd of August. And then for the timing, we go for 10 a.m. East African time to 1 p.m. So this is going to be a 3-hour event. And that is as per the East African timing. So if maybe you might be in West Africa, GMT, that is going to be -3 hours. It's going to be from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. If you're working with West Central African time, that is going to be from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. And then if you're working with Central African time, that is going to be from 9 a.m. all the way to 12 p.m. So you can easily do the conversion so that you can know the actual timing of the class. So there's a small training fee for that course, that is $30. And for the payment, once you follow the registration link, it's going to be easier for you to complete the payment. And I would like to also say that after the training, you're also going to be awarded with a certificate, which is sent to you immediately after you're done with the training. So for this course, we take a practical approach in terms of how we take you through, because we really want you to hone your skills when it comes to report writing as well as presentation. So among the key objectives that we aim at achieving through this training workshop, it's for you to be able to understand the requisites of a good report, and that is as a formal document and also as an informal document. We also take you through the different tips when it comes to creating reports, and this is to make sure that your reports, they are very concise and also easy to read, sorry. And then we also make sure that you can be able to make a very good presentation of a report with logical sequencing of data. We also aim at achieving to make sure that you have a comprehensive understanding when it comes to a well-written report in the business world. And then we also look into factors to construct presentations that you need to consider when it comes to developing presentations, and also the key ideas together with you putting in mind the audience that you intend to address as you do your report presentation, and also being able to develop slides. And these slides which are going to be supported by visual aids, and also other aspects so that you can effectively communicate. So that is what you intend to achieve from this training. And when it comes to the schedule, just trying to break it down for you. Looking at the different aspects, we start with an introduction to report writing. And here we look into the definition and features of a report. So that means even if you have not interacted with, you don't have to feel like this is not a class for you, because we start from the basics, trying to make sure that we can introduce you to report writing, looking at the different features of a report. We also look into elements of a report. We talk about the characteristics of a good report. In addition to that, the different report writing styles that you can be able to adopt as you work on your report. And then the second module, it's about the structure of a report. And this one, I know maybe most of us, we are quite familiar, but now we're going to look into the structure that you need to be working with. So we talk about the introduction, the main body, the conclusion, the recommendation, the executive summary, the table of content. And this is trying to put into perspective, how do you go about coming up with these structure, and what goes where. So that is what Linda and also other team members, we try to make sure that you can cover during this event. That module is about the types of reports, and here we look into the different types of reports. We talk about assignment review and feedback, proposal reports, periodical reports. We talk about research reports. We talk about the informal and formal reports, and also detailed reports. So you can see that we are quite, thorough when it comes to the different reports, without forgetting the business reports, informational reports, analytical reports. There are quite many of them. So we try to go through them and even make it better by sharing some of the samples so that you can clearly understand the difference between these different types of reports. Looking at the fourth module, it's about the report writing tips, and also this is being supported by the examples that we share. So how do you go about it? Remember, when you're working on reports, we have different type of reports. So we talk about the tone that you're going to use. We talk about the correct tense that you need to put into consideration. We talk about the grammar, the construction of sentences, and looking at the trying to compare what is a good report, what is a bad report, and this is being looked into the perspective of the tense that you've been able to use, the grammar, the structure, and here with the examples that we do provide to you, it becomes quite clear. Looking at the other module, as we wind up on these wonderful one-day event, we look into the presentation skills. So you might have a very good report, and now you're required to do a presentation. So you being able to, to hone your skills when it comes to presentation, it's very important. And here we start by looking at, the purpose of your presentation. So before you think about how you're going to present your work, have in mind who is your audience, what is the purpose of your presentation, and that is what we try to cover there. We look at the different types of presentations. We look at the body structure and presentation, the importance, and the sections, how you structure your work, the headings. So that is very important, and you can never ignore that. So that is what we aim at achieving, so that by the end of this training, you can be able to come up with a good report. And in addition to that, you are in a good position for you to do a presentation to your team, to your seniors as required. And without forgetting, we also look into some of the common mistakes that most of us make, and how can we avoid them. So I would like to urge you, as we go on with today's webinar, make sure that you can be part of our upcoming event on report writing and presentation skills. I know we all need these skills, and this is the perfect opportunity for you to join us on this Saturday. Just spend like 3 hours, spare them, 3 hours, be part of this event. Come study with us in this particular class, and at the end of the day, you're going to be able to, better yourself when it comes to reports and presentation. So with that said, I would like to say that feel free to get in touch with our team on the chat section, and we're going to be there to guide you as we look forward to seeing you in our event. So remember, it's only $30, and with the link shared on the chat section, you can be able to sign up. So thank you so much, and looking forward to seeing you on Saturday. So also invite your friends, your colleagues. Let's all get to learn. And without forgetting, you're also going to be awarded with a certificate afterwards. So thank you so much, and back to you, Sheila.
Great. Thank you so much, Anthony, for that very extensive explanation of what we have in store for you guys. We'll want to make a clarification. Yes, this training that you're currently having today is free. Please note that you will not be required to pay any amount for this webinar that you're currently having. However, for the one that we'll be having on Saturday is more extensive and in-depth with a few major case studies and practicals that will take longer time. I think approximately 3 hours. As you've noticed, this one is only 1 hour. So please join the session again for Saturday so that now you get to learn more and maybe finalize, or even just have a one-on-one session with expert for today. So thank you so much, Solomon, for joining, Legessa, Besta, and everyone else who has been able to join after we had made our introduction. And I look forward to us getting to learn more about the aspects of report writing and just trying to really improve on the knowledge that we currently have. And even on Saturday, when you join, you will add more value to what you already know. So again, I'll repeat, if you have any questions, comments, or clarifications, please channel the questions to the Q&A section. And for any clarifications or just suggestions or just comments, again, please drop them at on our webinar chat, and we'll be able to address them as we move along. We'll also have a session once the trainer ends, where we get to have a time for question and answer. So have your questions ready. If you're not able to type them, we'll give you a chance to ask them live, especially if we'll have a very ample time for that. So with that, allow me to bring on board Linda to be able to present for us what she has in store for us. Thank you so much, and welcome, Linda.
Thank you, Sheila, and thank you everyone for joining. I hope you can hear me clearly. So allow me to share my screen, then we can start. So I had already introduced myself, and we go straight into what we are learning for today. So when we talk about report writing, we first need to understand what is a report. And in defining a report, we say that a report can be an account of what has been happening. It can be an account summarizing the facts about a particular event. It could be an event, it could be a topic of discussion, it could be something we are researching on, or it could be an activity. As humanitarian, or rather as development careers, in our development careers or in our humanitarian careers or as humanitarian experts, we do a lot of report writing. We do activities that are either required by our organizations or required by our development partners who could be our donors. And so when you give a report, you're actually giving a description of what actually happened for that activity. If it is a research, you give a report about the research you're carrying out and what are the findings of that research. We also say that a report can be an account of something that is meant to help us to catch up. For example, if we are working in an organization with colleagues from either our program department or our finance department or our development partners, and we just need to bring them up to speed, or rather to help them catch up with happenings of the project or reporting a finding from our research. So we can define the report as an account of something that is used to actually help us to catch up. It can also be an account presenting or summarizing the facts about some kind of information. They could be clinical trials, they could be surveys, it could be official documents that are actually outlining the facts of a topic. most oftenly written by an expert on the subject or someone who is assigned to investigate it. So if we talk about clinical trials, the principal investigator will be the one to give us an outline of the facts of the topic that they have been working on. If it is a research, if it is in the program, we will have the program staff, for example, being able to write reports of the activity reports, sharing them with the monitoring and evaluation team, who will then be able to submit them to be able to either help us catch up or just track our progress in whatever implementation we are implementing. When we talk about report writing, we say it is a systematic and structured process. Please take note of the word process of gathering, analyzing, presenting information in a document to be able to inform, analyze, and make recommendations based on whatever data we have gathered or whatever activities we have implemented. So we're just giving data, or we're reporting on data that we have gathered, or we are reporting on an implementation of an activity. So it is a process. We cannot say that we will present information separately without having gathered information. We can also not say that we will present without having implemented an activity. So it is a process. The information that we include in reports includes all facts about whatever you're reporting. However, they particularly feature details of an event or the situation or the activity, consequences or ongoing effect of an event or a situation. If, for example, you're reporting on or you're working on a nutrition specific project that has been funded by your donors, so probably depending on the timelines by which you do your reports, you will be giving us the consequences or the changes of whatever you're implementing over a period of time. So if we say ongoing effect, probably we'll be saying in this quarter, if we're reporting quarterly, we had a reduction in child mortality by 80% or by 10% if it is in 3 months, because of either giving supplements, ensuring that we have taught the mothers to be able to ensure that they go for their clinics, they go for their nutritional supplementation, for example, if it is vitamin A supplementation. So we ensure that these mothers learn that they're supposed to take their children, or they're supposed to give their children nutritional supplements. And so over a period of time, there's an ongoing effect in reduction of child mortality or children under 5 who are dying because of malnutrition and issues related to nutrition. You will be able to give information on evaluation of statistical data or analytics. You'll be able to give interpretations from whatever statistical data or analysis that you have done. For example, if you're writing a finance report, if you're in the finance sector, you will be able to give us what are the profits and losses, what have we spent, what we call burn rate, what have we spent vis-a-vis the budget that was for that month or for that quarter. So you'll be able to interpret from your information or from the data that you have gathered. Also, we include predictions or recommendations based on what you are reporting on. And we also include how that information relates to other events or other reports. For example, if you're doing clinical trials, you will need to have researched and found out if there was any clinical trial preceding that which you're implementing or that which you're doing, so that then when you're doing your recommendations, you're able to also compare how it relates to other events or other reports that have been reported before. When we say it's a process, remember I was saying, take note of the word process. The process involves defining the purpose. Why are you writing that report? Is it for research? Is it just an activity report? Is it for monitoring and evaluation, in which case you're tracking progress? And what is the scope? In scope, we mean what do you need to report, or what do you need to ensure that is included in the report? And then additionally, the process involves conducting thorough research, especially for academic and scientific reports, organizing your data as per collected, meaning you do data analysis, you would want to do automated data analysis, or whatever it is that you're trying to, data that you're trying to collect, you need to be able to organize that data and then finally presenting that information. That information needs to be presented clearly, concisely, structurally, and ensure that you have included all the content that needs to be included. Your reports need to be clear, they need to be accurate, they need to be very objective in whatever you're reporting, especially in comparison of information that relates to either data that has been reported before. You can utilize visual aids to make your report more interesting. Ensure that you use evidence that has been, or rather you back up your report with evidence, especially for research, academic, or scientific writing, and then give your recommendations of whatever topic it is that you're reporting on. We have various types of reports, and these reports vary depending on the purpose and to whom you present your report to. And that also depends on the information that is to be shared. So we can have types of reports divided into the following: academic reports, which are specifically testing as a student your comprehension of the subject matter. They could be book reports, project reports, they could be internship reports, they could be reports on historical events and bibliography. As a student, you're testing your understanding of the subject matter. Business reports, these ones are reports that identify information that can be useful in business strategy. They could be sales and marketing reports. They could be marketing reports. They could be activity reports, financial reports, as I had mentioned before. You could be doing a SWOT analysis of whatever business you're trying to come up with or whatever business you have been doing. And then they could also be feasibility reports. And feasibility reports are there to be able to inform whether your business makes sense or not, whether it could be successful or not. And also SWOT analysis can be able to show you what are your weaknesses, what are your strengths, what are the threats in the business environment of whatever sector it is that you would like to do a business. Then we have finally scientific reports. Those ones are specifically for research. They could be research papers, case studies, clinical trials, and they're typically found in scientific journals. The types of reports, reports can be further divided into other categories. So initially here we have talked about types of reports varying on the purpose and to whom you're presenting it to. Here we are talking about reports can be either formal or informal. So you can have an academic requirements. They could be informal. Informal are typically short. Formal reports are highly structured. They include title page, table of contents, abstract, visuals. They're usually longer. They have more detail. They use formal language, and they avoid using personal pronouns. Your report can be long or short, depending on what has been prescribed for you, either if you're reporting to your donor or development partner. They could also be internal or external. Internal, I mean, in your organization, you need to submit activity reports to your M&D colleague, monitoring and evaluation colleague. So that is an internal report. If we have a development partner or we have a donor, then we are reporting externally. They could be vertical reports in which where you're sharing information with people on different levels of the hierarchy in your organization. These could be people who you report to or people who report to you. So those are vertical reports. Lateral reports are those reports that you share with people on the same level. And these ones are the ones either you can be using to ensure that you're caught up or you're up to date with your colleagues on whatever it is that you're implementing. They could be weekly reports, they could be activity reports immediately after implementing an activity. The structure of reports varies, and it varies with whoever you're writing the report for and for what purpose. So basically, we say that a report needs to have executive summary, an introduction, a body, and a conclusion. That is just general structure of reports. When you get into clinical trials, you will be able to include research methodology, research findings, and stuff like that. And that can go into the body of the report. So this is just the general structure of a report. The executive summary summarizes the findings, or it gives a summary of what we as the readers are expecting from your report. The introduction sets up the body of the report. It explains the overall topic and any other any other information that you need to add as background information before you get to now the body of the report where you put in more detail. The body gives us, or it explains all the discoveries if specifically you're doing a research. The body for a report for a project will be giving details of what happened in the activity that you are implementing, what were the major findings, if there are any findings, and then we go into the conclusion, which summarizes all the information, and then finally gives a definitive interpretation of the information that you're giving, and also a judgment and recommendations. In other reports, specifically, you will have the title page. This one just shows what are you reporting about. If you're doing a research, if you're doing a project report, you will say report on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's the title page. Table of contents helps us to show how we have organized our work in the report. And here it helps whoever is receiving your report to be able to go directly to the section that they'd like to see. Page numbering is important because it ensures that your pages are in order. In case of any mix-up or misprint, you'll be able to notice that there's a problem. However, it helps you sort out the flow or give us a very good flow of your report. You need to have headings and subheadings, typically breaking up the report into sections. So if you have executive summary, you ensure that you have the title as, or rather the heading as executive summary. You could have in the body, you could have research methodology, you could have research findings. So ensure that you have headings and subheadings. Then citations are used to show us or help us understand where it is that you've done your research from, and are you citing information from that other source? Are you getting justifications from data that has been reported before? So you need to specify or cite the data source that you have utilized for the information that you got. And then finally, we have references. References usually comes at the end of the report, which lists the other sources that you have gotten information from, and it gives the credits and legal information for those other sources that you have been able to use in your reports. And this is mostly for scientific, academic, and research reports. The activity reports that we write a lot in the humanitarian sector do not require the references unless you're doing a concept note to be able to implement a recommendation that you have recommended in one of your reports, or your recommendation of something that may have come up during the implementation of your project. We talk about examples of reports. Reports can also be divided into different the purpose of the report. So for proposals, these ones are usually utilized to persuade your reader to agree with your recommendations. And your recommendations are usually about how to address a problem or issue. And the proposal reports have or take the structure of an executive summary to introduce. You could have the project's background and the problems it aims to solve. So in the project background, you need to use statistical data to be able to explain why you think the solution you have is a solution to the problem that you're trying to solve. Potential and expected solutions, a list of project deliverables, and it can take the form of an abstract, a summary, a statement of need, what is the issue you're addressing and why does it matter? You could also have project activity, methodology, outcomes. You could have evaluation where you're comparing, and then dissemination of whatever information you'd like to disseminate, and ensure that you also include your budget in those proposal reports. We have periodic reports. Remember, I had mentioned timelines in terms of how your development partner or your donor requires you to do the reports. So periodic reports are very regular, at regular intervals. They could be project M&E reports. they could be program reports, they could be financial accounting reports. These reports are utilized to help with decision making. For example, if it is a business, you should be able to get a digital marketing report or just a marketing report to your clients or to your organization. And that can be done monthly, it can be done yearly, it can be done quarterly, or it can be done weekly. So the timelines are quite consistent when we're talking about periodic reports. And it depends on whoever your donor is, or if you are reporting to a development partner, or if it is just your internal organizational reports. So you decide whether they are weekly, whether they are quarterly, whether they are monthly, whether they are yearly. We have research reports, which I have mentioned severally. These ones are prepared by researchers or statisticians after they have done the analysis of data that they have gathered. And the research reports basically recount the details about your conducted research. That is why we talk about including the research methodology. So they give information that you have gathered by conducting your research. They also give information about a survey that you may have done. In the medical world or in the health sector, we have the clinical trials that could be for medical research, either for a disease area or a pharmaceutical product production. So you do clinical trials to test the efficacy of that kind of product, of that pharmaceutical product that you're producing. And so when you're doing the report, you need to write the report as a research report. They typically contain a title page, an abstract, an introduction, a literature review, research methods. You give us the results of your research, and then you give the discussion where you will compare that and any previous data that you have had, and you ensure that you give us references. We have business reports. I have mentioned this before. So they could be data that has been analyzed to be able to make relevant information easily accessible for a company. This data can be facts, they could be analysis of a research findings, they could be statistics about a business. Remember, we were talking about SWOT analysis, feasibility studies, that can be put under business report. They typically include purpose and scope of the business or whatever it is that you're trying to work on, executive summary, the main body, conclusion and recommendations, references and appendices, and put them in a format and style that is very specific to whoever you're reporting to. We have analytical reports. These ones are written documents that are used to investigate, for example, business opportunities. They are reports that are used to problem solve or justify decisions that we are taking. So they basically collect and review information with the view of forming a conclusion. They explain why something happened and recommending the course of action. They give a complete analysis of the problem. They could be quantitative or qualitative. They are descriptive, predictive, and prescriptive. So you describe whatever it is that you have, whatever data that you have gathered. Then you predict from the analysis that you have done, what predictions you're coming up with, and then finally you prescribe a recommendation of whatever you would recommend from the data that you have gathered. So when it comes to specifically writing the reports, you need to do these 4 things, very important. 1, research. 2, select your format. 3, plan your how you're going to write it and how you're going to present it in whatever format that you have selected. And then finally, proofread your report. So when we talk about research, you need to do your groundwork very well to be able to ensure that you have all the information that you need to be included in your report. You need to find out what are the sources of information that you need to utilize to be able to write your report. Research and groundwork takes a lot of time, but when you know what information you need to give exactly, so you'll be able to do your research properly. All the collected and analyzed data all the stakeholder feedbacks or other feedback meetings that you've had. If your development partners have requested you to write a report, you need to ensure that from the previous reports, what was their feedback? Do you need to include something in your report? Do you need to reduce whatever information that you have put in your report? What is it that you need to have in your report? So ensure that you do proper research and groundwork for your report. In terms of selecting the format, this depends on what has been prescribed. If it is your organization and they have a specific structure for the report writing, ensure you use it to be able to write your report. If your report needs a glossary, ensure it's there. If it needs a table of content, ensure it's there. If it needs references, make sure it is there. If it is just an activity report that needs executive summary, body, and conclusion, do that depending on what is required. Ensure that your report, now when you get into the writing, ensure that your report is very persuasive. It can be able to get the reader's attention and action. It has the key messages through whatever style, whatever structure, and whatever content that you have put in it. For you to be able to submit it, ensure it doesn't have grammatical errors. Ensure that your formatting of the style you're writing, the fonts are the same so that you're able to ensure that whoever is reading your report will have their attention specifically to the report. The groundwork I was talking about can take different forms. It could be interviewing key informants or other key respondents. It could be desktop reviews, or it could be even in attending meetings. Do not spend a lot of time on your groundwork or on your researching to ensure that people to know what your report is for. If it is a HR policy that you want to be included, ensure you have done your groundwork perfectly well. You have the data that you have analyzed. You have the recommendations that are supported by data or are supported by reports that you have written before. If it is for resource mobilization, ensure you know what is the purpose of your report. So you know what you need to be able to include in a proposal for resource mobilization. You know if the report is just to be able to track your progress, so you know what to give, what information to give to be able to give the status of your report. You also know if it is problem analysis, what is it that you need to include so that you can be able to properly analyze whatever you're talking about. When you're deciding the report format, as I had mentioned, utilize the prescribed format or template that you have been given. Ensure that the word count expected is actually what you give. If you're asked for a 2-pager report, ensure that it is 2 pages. If you're asked for 3,000 words, ensure that it is 3,000 words. If you're asked for 50 pages, make sure it's 50 pages. However, sometimes there's no definition of the word count or the pages that you're supposed to give or ensure that your report has. So in that case, just use your wisdom or discretion to be able to know that in my 10 pages of report, I have included everything that is required. The background information, the executive summary. If it is a research, I have my research methodology, I have my findings, I have everything in that report. So you need to understand that. What sections are required? As I had mentioned, if you're required to put table of contents, go ahead, put table of contents. If it is not required, do not add it. Check if you have any prescribed or available reporting templates, and do not begin to reinvent the wheel if there's already an existing template. What is the preferred style, either by your reader or supervisor if it's an academic report? Your reader could be your program officer or the technical lead of your project. What is their preferred style? Is it British or American English? Ensure that whatever you use in your document is consistent. If you're using American English, ensure it's consistent. If it's British, ensure consistently in all the whole document you use British. Are there specific fonts for you to be able to, are there any specific fonts that have been prescribed for you? Is it Arial? Is it Calibri? Is it font size? Is it Times New Roman? I know most academic reports utilize Times New Roman, size 12. So ensure that you stick to the fidelity of whatever report or whatever style that you have been given. So for you to be able to write your report logically, you need to ask yourself several questions. I often give this to anyone who comes for this course so that you're able to understand and ask yourself, if I only had 1 minute to convince my reader on an action to take, what would I actually tell them? Ask yourself if in that 1 minute you'll have given the background information. Is it the place where you give the executive summary? If you had another 1 minute, would you be able to give research methodology? So ask yourself those things as you go ahead so that you know what it is that you need to ensure that your report is good enough to give content. Your report is good enough to give all the data that is required, and your report is good enough to give background information. Avoid overwhelming your reader with too much information. Just ensure that you have only content that is necessary for whatever report you're writing. If it is a quarterly report, remember you're giving a summary of the 3 months of your implementation in that quarterly report. So you will not go straight into specific meeting details or activity details, but you will be giving a summary of everything that was implemented in the last 3 months. For the style and tone of your reports, use simple language that is clear and can be understood. Avoid heavy jargon. Avoid very long sentences. Try to read through your sentences and see if you're struggling to get the meaning or you can understand. In that way, you are able to give very clear sentences. Avoid using acronyms. Anytime you use an acronym for the first time in your report, ensure that it is in full and then in bracket you put the acronym for that particular word. So if, for example, we're talking about MOE, MOE could be Ministry of Health or whatever it is in your countries. MOH, Chief Finance Officer, DTB is a bank. Ensure that you have put, for every first use of an acronym, put it in full and then in brackets, put it in the acronym. And then anywhere else in your document, you can use the acronym because you have introduced it the first time you used it. I normally say that your sentences should not have more than between 14 to 18 words, just to be able to ensure that they are easily understandable, they are simple, they are clear, and they are precise, so that your reader can be interested and so that your reader can be able to concentrate and you can have the attention of whoever is reading your document. Avoid cluttering your report in big chunks of paragraphs. Ensure your paragraphs are spaced. You have used headers and subheaders as we had mentioned. Make your margins bigger. Don't use unreadable fonts, as I had mentioned. All reports have, depending on your development partner or your donor, there's usually the branding for your organization. Decide if your organization utilizes Calibri, please don't use Arial, don't use Times New Roman. Be consistent with the font, be consistent with the style and format of your headings and subheadings. And when you're consistent with the headings and subheadings, it will be very easy for you to automatically also make a table of contents if you're required to make a table of contents. Ensure there is superiority difference in the headings and subheadings. So you will not be using, for example, Times New Roman 14 font size for a subheading, while you're using Times New Roman 12 font size for a heading. So ensure there's that difference in superiority. The headings are more superior than the subheadings, and ensure that your visuals are also labeled correctly. So as we come to a close of the session, I'd like us to have a question. And this question is just for us to ask ourselves, what piece of information have we ever read? What is the most captivating news headlines that got us to reading the whole content of whatever story we were being given to read? or even if it's a newspaper, what headline made you read the whole content of that page of whatever topic that was being discussed? How captivating was it? How boring was it? Have you ever looked at a newspaper and just turned the pages because there was nothing captivating for you? Or the content of that writer has never made sense to you, or is in very hard English to understand? So you look at it and you just pass, and you just say, I will not read this, I will read it later. Or you have a favorite writer in the newspaper and you ask yourself how they usually write, how captivating is it, what makes you really read that content to the end. Thank you. Any questions for me, Sheila?
Yes, thank you so much, Linda, for that extensive discussion. Everyone is happy, and I can see a lot of us are really impressed. So I would want to give a chance to the people who've been able to raise their hand to be able to ask their question. So if you have a question, please just raise up your hand and I'll give you the right to ask, and then we can proceed. But first, as they prepare their questions, there's one question on the Q&A section, which is asking, on the side of vertical reports, is there any recommendation to fit different levels of management in the same report? On the side of vertical reports, is there any recommendation to fit different levels of management in the same report? You've gotten the question?
Yes, I have. For that specific question, I'd say there's no specific recommendation. Normally, the reports, especially for us who work in donor-funded programs and development work, humanitarian work, there's usually no specific segregation of what should be in the report for different levels of management. However, sometimes, for example, the CEO of the organization will just want a very summarized report of what the implementations have been, what are the findings of the implementation, or rather, what activities have you implemented. And sometimes we say the CEO could be given a biannual report or a quarterly report, as opposed to the very monthly, very specific month-by-month reports that we give. So normally I'd say there's no specific recommendation. However, you work by what your organization requires.
Great. Thank you so much for that. I believe I need to make a clarification. This is a free webinar, so you will not be getting any certificates. However, if you want to join, if you will join the August class that is happening on 3rd, you will definitely receive a certificate for that particular purpose. We'll also be sharing the recordings and the presentation by close of business tomorrow on your emails that you registered with. Thank you. And then I'm having another question. Should the headline be 14 font size and subheadings 12 font size? Clarify on that.
Yes, I wouldn't say very specific and say it has to be 14, it has to be 12. It depends on your prescription of whoever you're writing to. So if they say your document, they can also be same size, but different style. Same font, same size, different style, or the heading will have to be the bigger size, and then the subheading will have to be the smaller size. So normally that's what we utilize to be able to ensure superiority of the headings and subheadings. Because as you also go to develop the table of contents, then the subheadings will have smaller font, or they will be demoted into a more inferior level as opposed to the headings. So yes, it can be 14 for the headings and 12 for the subheadings, but also depends on what has been prescribed for you as an organization. Yeah.
Okay, makes sense. Thank you so much. Samson, you can unmute and ask your question.
Yeah, I don't have a specific question, just to thank you guys for the nice presentation.
Good. Thank you so much, Hassan. That really means a lot. Again, as I mentioned, not just asking questions. Thank you so much, Hassan, for giving us that vote of confidence. We try as much as we can to empower knowledge in whatever capacity that we have. Thank you so much for that. Do we have any other question? Samson, I can see you're still, you can ask your question. I don't know if they have anyone. I think I'd clarified for this one, you're not getting a certificate. However, once you join our class on Saturday, you will definitely receive a certificate for report writing after the class. So then recently, Noor is saying, recently extensive reports have been abandoned and only a summary and brief description are provided, followed by facts and figures as graphs. So I believe that is just a comment. Again, different reports have different formats, so you can always align for the same. So Edda is saying my mic is not working, so I can't speak, but always ask your question. Which is better in report writing, Arial, Calibri, or Times New Roman?
I
Linda.
have answered that. I answered and said any can be utilized, either Calibri, Arial, or Times New Roman. However, it depends on what has been prescribed for you or is the requirement. I see a lot of academic and scientific reports utilizing Times New Roman. So it also depends, but all three can be utilized.
Good. Thank you for that. And then I have someone's hand is up. Courage. I think Courage, you had not spoken. So Courage, you can ask your question.
All right. Thank you so much, Linda and team, for organizing this important presentation. I think I had posted my question in the chat box. It's to the linkage between the reports. I'm sure you are aware most of these humanitarian-based reports should be accompanied by PowerPoint presentations. So I just wanted, I know you might be pressed for time, but if you have some quick tips in terms of how to align the report findings, especially with the PowerPoint presentation. Thank you.
Okay, so for Sheila, I can go for that one.
Yes, please.
Okay, so once you have done your report, the most important thing to consider when doing your presentation is that you're doing a summary of what you have included in the report. So the report is mostly detailed. The presentation is just to be able to help us remember what are the most important things that need to be reported on through a presentation. So the presentation will just be helping you to put whatever information you have in the report in point form. And if you're required to actually do a presentation, then you're able to follow through the points to be able now to explain the details in full of what you had reported in your report. So I'd say that it would be better to come to the presentation skills class so that you understand what you need to do to be able to just ensure that you summarize the very important details from your report into your PowerPoint presentation. Yeah.
Good. Thank you so much for that, Courage. I believe you've got an answer. And then I'll give a chance to George. George Kamboke, please. You can unmute and say something. You had a question.
All right, thank you so much. The question that I have is on quantitative data or qualitative data in government and maybe say the Department of Veterinary Services. Their format is not so much into explanations in a report. They normally give numbers. Then in the Department of Fisheries, we have officers that are just good at doing descriptions in their reports. So between the two, how do you marry them, or which one is important, or how do you marry the two, or how do you go about writing a report? Thank you so much.
For every report that you're writing, even the quantitative ones, you will require a summary of thought a brief description of whatever it is that you're reporting on. If you're reporting about data that you have gathered, you will give a paragraph to be able to define or describe that data that you are giving. So for every quantitative, you cannot just post the figures in the report. You will need to, before the figures that you're posting, ensure that you have a description of what data it is that you're reporting on. Once you have finished, either you can decide to say from the data above, these were the findings, or this is the analysis of that data that you have given. For quantitative, a lot I see also in the analysis you use figures and graphs, or rather graphs, to be able to define or describe what you are reporting on. So for all quantitative data, you will need to give a paragraph or two describing what the data is all about. Thank you, Sheila.
Great. So, thank you so much for that. I believe we have come to the end of our training. I will suggest again, please join our class, join our session to be able to learn more about report writing, as well as any aspect that you will desire. I'm seeing people asking for sample reports so that they can be able to use it. Please make a point of joining our class, that now we can be able to assist you. There are also some of us who want to get new updates in terms of new upcoming webinars and all that. So please join our networking platform called Discord. The link has been shared on chat, but now you're able to learn more about any new activities that are happening with us. You'll get to interact with other people who are also in the humanitarian space and get to also learn from each other. So do make a point to join the Discord platform, that now you can be able to learn a lot from each other. So I think with that, that marks the end of our webinar session for today. Looking forward to seeing you, all of you, in our upcoming classes, our upcoming trainings, as well as our other webinars that will be happening. With that, allow me to say goodbyes, wish you well, and God bless.
My name is Emilia Siafa from West Africa, Liberia. I work for a women's rights non-governmental organization. It's called Sister Aid Liberia, where I serve as the program director on women's political participation and leadership. The last 5 days of the training has been very insightful. I have been able to learn not just from the presentation, but I've been able to gather the information from all the participants on their different experiences and expertise on how they have managed projects directly and indirectly over the years. The information I've gathered from the training are very essential for me, since I am directly managing project in my institution. I have been able to identify gaps here and there that I haven't really effectively been good at, or I didn't notice there were gaps, in fact, or they were important to managing the projects that I have managed. Moving forward, I have more information now. I have more ideas. I know new skills and techniques that I can incorporate as I go about managing projects, not just managing, but effectively managing projects for better results and impact. So far, so good. It was great. It was insightful and interesting. And I look forward to, being a participant of other future programs with this institution.